Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Notes from the Pastor Cave. And behind me is the lovely and notable Pastor Cave. It's like the one room in the house I get to Well, I actually have two rooms. There's a guy bathroom downstairs. I get to decorate that myself. And then there's the Pastor Cave here. I get to decorate that myself, which is, why we have like Three Stooges posters, right? Because no wives ever allow Three Stooges posters just up in the general household. Um, so this is all my expert decorating touch. The other thing I wanted to mention to you is, continue to please subscribe. If you're just running across this for the first time, you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and hit as many likes, make comments, and I believe there's a little bell application now. You can hit that button, and then you can receive notices whenever we post a new video, which is at this rate a couple times a week, and we're hoping to kind of continue that on forever. And then the last thing I want to mention before we get into what we're going to talk about today is that we have a new lighting system. We actually have like an expert. I can't turn the camera around and show it to you, but we have like an expert lighting system now down here. So you notice, I don't have to fiddle with all the lamps and all the strange stuff. This extra light you see from the sides coming in through the window can't do much about that. But we do have a setting that kind of warms my face up a little bit, which particularly this time of year is just basically blank. So very excited to kind of move things forward. We've got the good mic now, we've got the good lighting system, and we're just kind of rolling along with this thing. And as I mentioned last time, it's time to kind of transition out of chapter 3 and into chapter 4 of Exodus. But it's the same conversation. This is the conversation that God is having with Moses as he's calling Moses to go and set the Israelites free from their Egyptian captors. And what we really end up with here is certainly in this part of the conversation, is we end up with a Moses who feels completely inadequate to the task that he's being called to. The first answer that he gives God that we talked about at length is basically, "Who am I? Who am I to do this? I can't do this thing." And then the conversation kind of continues on very much in that vein with Moses responding to what God says with different versions of, "I can't do this. I really don't know what to do with this." And so the big question here, and I say that because it links right to the first line of chapter 4, and we'll get into that more in the days ahead as we roll into chapter 4. But just looking at the overall subject and saying, okay, how does God deal with us when we don't feel up to the task? How does God deal with us when we don't feel as if we're adequate or up to the task, or we just find whatever the task is to be overwhelming or too much or beyond us or above our pay grade or however you want to put it? And let me first say this, that if you look throughout the scriptures, what you find is that God would rather deal with a Moses than he would with say a Nebuchadnezzar, for instance. And boy, did he have to go a long way to humble Nebuchadnezzar. But God would actually rather deal with somebody like Moses, someone maybe like you, who just realizes that the task is too big for them, and you just in general, you look at your life and you say, "Who am I? Who am I?" So I want to remind you that the scriptures say that God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Okay, so that's that's kind of all the proof that we need that God really doesn't want to. He really doesn't want to work with the proud. He really wants to work with the humble. So, God, obviously God knows all about Moses and whatever personality issues that Moses might have, or whatever emotional issues he might have when he calls him. And but God very clearly would rather work with a Moses than with somebody who's full of pride and hubris and those kinds of things. And so if you are one of those people saying, "Who am I?" And you are kind of on the overwhelmed and humbled side, you're chosen of God. God loves to work with people like you. Okay, so how does God respond to all this? How does God deal with all this feeling of inadequacy? You call it esteem issues if you want to, or just Moses just feels like the task is just too big for him. Hey, shepherding is fine. This is way beyond anything that I can do. And what we talked about in previous sessions is this. That God doesn't stroke the ego of Moses. He doesn't say, "Oh, you got to feel better about yourself. We gotta pump up your self-esteem here. We're gonna have you look at who you really are, and you're so much better than that." God doesn't do any of that at all. The first thing he does is he says, "I will be with you." So, however inadequate that you might feel, I'm God, maker of the universe, keeper of the universe, and I'm going to be with you. And then the second thing is that he gives Moses that very specific vision of the future. You're going to go get these people, and you're going to bring them out, and you are going to worship me on this mountain. Boom, very, very clear, very concise. Okay, and so when God knows that we're a little on the awkwardly humble side of things, that's really when he wants to give us more specific vision, so that we have that. So we have that goal out in front of us, so that we see the end of the game, and we can work towards winning the game within the confines of the game. All right, and then the third thing we went over last time is that God links himself with the message and the task of Moses. So, when Moses says, "Well, okay, suppose I go do this thing. Who am I supposed to say you are?" And God says, "Tell them I am who I am." And so, God doesn't just give Moses a task and say, "Look, I'm going on vacation. I'm going to Cancun." Moses, if I sense that you're kind of messing up and you're not getting this right, then I'm abandoning you, and you and your silly message can be out there all by themselves. God doesn't do that. God links himself permanently to Moses and to the message that Moses has. All right. So when and if times get hard, when and if Moses is rejected by the people, whatever happens there, it's going to be God backing up Moses, and Moses is never going to be left there standing all by himself. God will never kind of leave you in the middle. He'll never call you to something and then say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got something else to do. I'll talk to you later." God will never leave us like that, and so we can be established within that knowledge that God will be with us, and He'll be with us all the way, not just part of the way. And then kind of the reason that I'm skipping the rest of chapter 3 is that the beginning of chapter 4 gets right into the same subject. It's this same conversation, and so Moses says right in verse 1 of chapter 4, he says, "What if they do not believe me or listen to me and say the Lord did not appear to you?" Okay? And this is really one of the most profound answers that God gives to anybody in, Old Testament, New Testament, all of the scriptures. This is an incredibly profound answer. God says, "What is in your hand?" He says, "What is in your hand?" And so, again, Moses, God doesn't directly answer the question of Moses. He says something, kind of that might seem out of the blue. What is it that's in your hand? And I ask you today, whatever it is that God has called you to do, what's in your hand? What is available? You see, God doesn't call us to use somebody else's gifts, somebody else's talents, somebody else's abilities, right? If he calls you to do something, then it has to do with what's in your hand, not in somebody else's hand. And that should take out any reason for jealousy, and it should take out really any reason for feelings of inadequacy. Because when God says what is in your hand, he already knows what Moses is holding. Moses is holding a stick. Okay, you call it a staff and make it fancy if you want, but let's face it, it's a stick. Okay, maybe he worked at it a little bit, whittled at it. It's a stick. So God says, what is in your hand? And so what God is trying to do here is God is trying to point Moses towards the idea that God will empower whatever it is that's in my hand. It's not my hand that's important, and it's not the thing that's important. It's the animation that God is going to give to that thing that we have that's going to make all the difference. And we're going to talk about that in the days ahead. But what is in your hand? Whatever it is you feel inadequate to do for God, what is in your hand? What is the gift? What is the talent? What is the ability? What is the stuff? Maybe you're somebody who has stuff. How can you use that for the kingdom of God? And that's the big question that we start to roll into now. Have a great day. God bless you. Vita brevis gloria aeterna. Life is short. Glory is eternal. Good day.